everyone for coming to our past lecture. Thank you to Reba for sponsoring our series. This series is called Ecologies of Communities. We've got Anastasia to introduce Simone.
Hello, thank you everyone for joining us. Today's lecture guest is Simone Sfriso, who is a founding partner of TAM Associates. It's a team of architects working worldwide, and they are focusing on innovative designs for impact. They won many prizes and recognition during the years, and they are currently working on Uganda, Cameroon, Kenya, many other places. And the lecture's title is Cities and Architecture, and I'm letting Simone continue.
Okay, so thank you very much. Yes, again, thank you for your invitation. I'm definitely glad to be with you. And I am also visiting a professor at University of Portsmouth, actually. I'm collaborating with Antonino Di Raimo and Alessandro Melis. So in a way, Portsmouth for me, it's a sort of a second home now. Yes, well, I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. Is it working? Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so let's start. Well, I am one of the founding partners of TAM Associati, and actually we are 5 partners: me, Raul, Massimo, and 2 younger associates. And well, in the last 15 years, in the last 20 years, I can say we have worked mainly on the boundaries of urban settlements. And when I talk about the boundaries, I refer to physical boundaries, but I definitely refer to social boundaries and also to war-torn boundaries. And so this what does it mean for us? First of all, a boundary in this is a quote of Massimo Arcangeli, an Italian sociologist, and I found this definition of boundary, but I love it. I want to share it with you. A boundary divides, but it's also etymologically a place of sharing and also often of passage. And if I'm confined to someone, he borders on me, I will be able to see him and he will be able to see me. And what matters is that we are on the same level. There are no borders, otherwise it would be an internment, but a neighboring people. On the boundaries, I can say we have tried to realize a project conceived as commons, consider it in the popular sense of a common good is a specific resource shared by all the members of a given community. We live in the age of nets, intangible nets that are connecting us also today, internet, but also the nets of people who are moving from a place to another in the world as the globalization is telling that people needs to move from one place to another. And but even if we are living in suspended times caused of the pandemic, we don't have to forget the matters of this migrations of people. People are migrating, are moving from one place to another due to the need to achieve better conditions of life, but also due to the big challenges or big questions we have to deal with, such as conflicts, natural disasters, climate crisis. And even if, as I said, we are living in suspended times due to the pandemic, what is happening? New and disturbing barriers are being built in different parts of the world. and as if physical borders could hold back people, could hold back the rights of populations. And what is in, I can say what is in emerges from the situation we are living today, the pandemic, is this sense of shared vulnerability. And this is part of a concept that has been written by Tessa Maria Guasson. She was the curator of the Philippine Pavilion, the Venice Biennale in 2019. And even if, in a way, this script seems to be at the same time outdated and actual, I think it's really interesting. Because it explains very well the sense of this period we are living right now. And well, Maria Guasson says, actually we are buoyed by the seeming dissolutions of borders, the unprecedented speed of time, and the mobility across places never before experienced. Yet we relentlessly face the threats of displacement and discrimination and disasters. Nature is our great leveler. Nature is our great leveler. Emerges this atmosphere of shared vulnerability. This condition of vulnerability for us, we live in the, I can say, in the lucky part of the world. And so we are feeling conditions that I can say are the conditions, the everyday life of the weakest, the weak population who live in the south of the world, in the global south. And so we are facing big global challenges. So the question for us, for me and my colleagues, is what is the role of architecture in facing these global challenges? Do we really have a role, or our role is marginal in a way? And I want to explain how we can play our role, even if we are part of big processes, complicated processes in which we have to call different kind of expertises in order to share knowledge and to share our capacities in facing these challenges. And I want to, this is also a sort of back and forth journey. As I said, we have started work in the global south, especially in African continent, and also in Middle East since 2005. And so it is this lecture also a journey about what we have learned working in the global south, especially in the African continent, and how we have, in a way, relearned how to be architects also in our part of the world, here in Italy, and not only here in Italy. And well, I want to start with this very small project. It is a community house in a small village in Senegal, in Keur Bakar. This village is 200 kilometers far from Dakar, that is the capital of Senegal. We are placed in this border, in this line. It is the border between the sub-Saharan area of the African continent and the tropical part of Africa. So it is about this border that is moving due to climate change, due to desertification of the land. And our vision is how to be involved in this big movement of a great, I was referring here, the Great Green Wall movement, in which the vision is how to develop replicable prototypes on the green front in order to share our knowledge with other projects that are dealing with desertification in this part of Africa. So in a way, it is also about a question that is really important for me. We are not talking about questions that are far away from us, because we are sharing the same challenges, and we can consider this border as it could be in our backyard. And the project is, we are part of a participatory process in this project, in which many subjects has been involved, such as Sunugal, that is an association of Senegalese people living here in Venice, Autodesk Foundation and Silicon Valley Foundation, that has helped us to develop the project, and Musoko, that is a Venetian pro bono association. And the task of the project was to create better living conditions in the rural areas of Senegal in order to reduce economic migration to Dakar and or to Europe as well. And for doing this, we have tried to set up a sort of circular approach involving knowledge, economy, and natural and local resources. Knowledge means that in a project, we always try to dialogue with local communities. We always try to set up a participatory process, because we think that we have to start from the real questions, and then only after, with our work, we have to try to give correct answers. Otherwise, there is nothing worse than a very good answer to the wrong question. So starting from the question is starting investigating the land, the place, understanding the genius loci, dialing with the local communities, involving the local communities, and bringing the local resources, human resources and material resources, as part of the process and part of the projects as well, and also to improve local economy, working with people who can teach us how they can do their best, and how we can live not only design architecture, but also conditions for improving local economic and local economy. In specific, the project is a project of a community house. So it's a very simple project. We have conceived it as a bottom-up project in which only the core of the building, this technical block, the hard part of the building, where there is an underground cistern that includes the technical services, the kitchen and toilet, needs to be realized by skilled workers. And all the other parts of a building, but it is a modular building, can be realized directly by the community with the local resources. It is a Creative Commons project. It is an open source project. And so all the drawings, all the constructing drawings have been uploaded in an open website, h2os project.org. And this means that from the very beginning, it was our intention to share the project in order to hopefully see this project adopted by other designers, other communities. Maybe they can improve the project, and so this knowledge can come back to us improved in better or different ways. And well, it deals with the big deal in this part of Senegal is water. Yeah, the raining season is very short. We have 2 months of rain and 10 months without rain. So the question of how to realize the systems, how to purify the water is the central question of the building. So architecture design is a sort of consequence. And when we have started to work on this project, we didn't have any kind of economic support. So, but I think ideas are really important. And if you deal with a good idea, you can maybe find who can support you with the financial, who can support you financially. In this case, we have submitted the project to Autodesk Foundation, and they have helped us with an important grant and with the BIM-free licenses. And so now we are part of Autodesk Academy, and they are supporting our work as a pro bono association. And so this is also how to link together different realities, different subjects in order to build together something that is important for the local community. Okay, some photographs of the building. It is very simple. It's made of bricks and fences and brisolates or in bamboo. And all the roof is a collecting system for the water. Now, this is the first model. Now we are improving the project with other modules that are going to be built in the village as well. Well, I have started to introduce some big challenges that are important for us, and these challenges such as inequalities, natural disaster, migration, climate change, participation of communities have been investigated in the Biennale Architecture exhibition in 2016, the Alejandro Aravenas Biennale. He was the artistic director, and that edition, reporting from the front. And we have, in 2016, we have created the Italian pavilion. And so, as Aravena asked us to us, we have tried to give our personal interpretation to the question, which is the front in your country, which are the strategies that you can set up in order to face the challenges in your country, in order to build up a sort of domino of answers, different answers to the same questions. And taking care was what we entitled our pavilion Taking Care, and we have started we have investigated the question of common goods and how common goods are related with architecture. So this is a mind map we have started to work on when we were nominated creators of Italian Pavilion. So when I refer to common goods, I don't refer only to natural commons such as earth, air, water, but also to the local know-how which permits the production and use of those goods. So from a material aspect, we are introducing the material aspect of common goods. And so when we talk about the local know-how of the communities, we are also talking about relations with people. So we are talking about the places in which these relations play out, such as the home, the neighbor, the city, the region, those goods, those common goods that are created collectively. And so what is architecture, and how architecture deals with common goods? We can consider, in our point of view, architecture such as the point of articulation between the concreteness of the materials, the buildings, and the immateriality of the ties of individuals who live in it. And in our work, we have in our pavilion, we have divided the pavilion in three sections. We have worked with a steering committee that has helped us to define the common goods and how you can decline the common goods in a sequence of different definitions, such as the science as a common good, the work as common good, nutrition, education, environment, living, play, culture, legality, and health. For every field of study, we have chosen some projects realized by Italian firms. Most of them were young firms, under 30, also under 40 or under 30. And we have searched for a project that could be considered as emblematic in their relation between the places, the communities, and the commons, and the concept of common goods. And so I'm gonna show you some examples. Legality of common good as common good. This was a villa of a mafia boss in the south of Italy. It has been confiscated and has been given to a local association. And the idea has been to transform this place of exclusion and violence in an exhibition space. This is the first project of a very young firm, under 30, architects and designers. They have worked with a very small budget, more or less 15,000 euros. So they have mainly with scaffolding and this red nets. And what is interesting for us is that they have really transformed the shape of the building, but you can still see through this net. This means that the building is the place is something of really different and new, but at the same time, you keep memory of what it was. And okay, inside is this new collection of paintings coming from the Baroque, the Southern Italy Baroque tradition, coming from different Italian museums. Culture as a common good. Here we are in a village in the south of Italy. In an abandoned village. So the idea is how to use art as a driving force that can transform an abandoned place in an attractive place. Play as a common good. Esto non es un solar in Zaragoza. Young Spanish and Italian architects have worked on this very fractile public spaces. What is interesting here is that they have set up this bottom-up process in which we have realized these small common spaces, so squares and gardens and playgrounds, directly with the local communities. And only after we have realized the drawings, such as, so the drawings are as built before they are built, and then they have drawn. So the drawings are the as built drawings of what we have done, with also here with very small budgets. Education as common good, a school in a former refugee camp in East Jerusalem. Well, in all these projects, and in the project I'm going to show you the following projects, what is important is, yes, architecture, but the impact of architecture, of the design in the places. And impact design is also an important concept for us. Impact design is rooted in the core belief that design can be used to create positive social, environmental, and economic change, and focuses on actively measuring the impact to inform directly the design process. This is a project we have realized in Port Sudan for Emergency. Emergency is a very well-known Italian NGO. They asked us to design a pediatric clinic in the periphery of Port Sudan. And so what was important and interesting for us here was not only to design the pediatric clinic, but also to conceive it as a civic center, a recognizable center for the local community in this places that everything is missing. And so yes, there are all the healing spaces, but there is also square in front of the entrance, and a big portico that can be considered as a public space, as in the tradition of Italian architecture. So it is a sort of autobiographic approach to African architecture. And so sometimes you really need a few signs to define a space, such as or to define a space such as a domestic space, such as only a tree. And this big portico is the entrance, the space for the first triage, but it's also a public space. And the gardens, the playgrounds for the young patients, but also for the local community as well. And again, a reinterpretation of traditional constructing systems, and how we can connect innovation, research, and the reproposal of local skills and local constructive systems as well. And this approach has been adopted also for the map design in order to match some solutions coming from the traditions, such as the bagged gear, the wind-catching towers. We have studied a lot the architecture of the Arabic houses, traditional Arabic houses, the architecture of Hassan Fatih as well, a great master architect, Egyptian master architect, and with solutions such as adiabatic humidifier, in order to set up very simple, cost-effective solutions without renouncing to the high standard, high quality standard that is required in a pediatric clinic or in a healthcare project as well. And this is a very small project and a very simple project in a very difficult place. It is a health center in a refugee camp in the north of Iraq. Again, a place where everything is missing. All the rights are missing. And all the basic conditions of life are really hard. So this is how refugee camps appear. And so we have worked on how the question for us is, how can we transform a very low cost, a very cost-effective project in a project that has something more, has also a social value. It means that a clinic, it's not has not to be conceived as a place where you have to repair bodies, but a place where you have to, first of all, take care of people. So with very simple and cost-effective solutions, starting from a prefab constructing system, so working with colors, working with shading systems, with brisolates, you can change the shape of the building and also change the meaning of what you are doing there. And this means also that, again, the triage space has not to be conceived as an anonymous space, but can be conceived as a space for human gathering, a space for the communities. Sustainability is definitely very important for us. And when we talk about sustainability, we consider it, first of all, such as a challenge of simplicity. And as I have tried to explain you, showing the previous project, but we also consider that sustainability always has to come from contextualism. This is a project, it is an ongoing project. The client is Mira Nair. Mira Nair is a very well-known Indian filmmaker. She has won the Golden Lion here in Venice in 2000. And more than 10 years ago, she has founded a film lab, Maisha Film Lab, that is a training school for young local filmmakers. And the mantra of Mira Nair is, if we don't tell our own stories, nobody will. This means that even in growing countries, in emerging countries, such as Uganda, you cannot measure the growth only with economic parameters, but also measuring how you can improve culture, how you can conserve and improve local culture, and how you can connect the local culture with global culture as well. It is a very simple ongoing project. In this case, we have worked in this wonderful piece of land. It's on the top of a hill with a wonderful view to the Lake Victoria. And so the whole complex is conceived as a sequence of small interventions, such as paved terraces, walkways, open-air cinemas, art installations, and the main building. I have a very nice video. It is a bit longer. This is the main building. It's all the parts of a project, the main building, the pathways, the open air teaching spaces are all realized and will be realized with bricks, local bricks. And so the first act was to set up a small brick factory in order to use the local land and to transform it in the building materials for the building material for our interventions. So bricks for the walls, the floors, the vaults, and everything in a way. I'm going to show you only a part of it, this video that is a bit long.
Welcome to Maisha, which is a Swahili word which means life or zest for living. Maisha was set up in 2005 as a training lab for filmmakers of East Africa, the 4 countries being Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania. We have trained more than 675 filmmakers in the last 11 years. The slogan of Maisha is, if we don't tell our own stories, no one else will. We are an ancient continent of storytellers, but we do not have the ability or the training in many parts of this continent to make those stories into the bridge of the most powerful medium of today, which is cinema. And that's what Maisha teaches: to write, to direct, to frame, to make short films and long films, fiction and documentary in East Africa, about East Africa.
Korn did not discriminate. He did not care if you were a child of the soil or not. As long as you were not marching behind him, there was no reason for you to be breathing.
When a mother gives birth to a child, it fills her heart with joy. But sometimes it happens differently.
I'm sitting on Maisha Rock, which is where we always start every Maisha Film Lab. We stand on the rock and welcome all students and teachers. And the beautiful story of Maisha is that before we had any money at all, we had this land and a dream to make a garden, a nature archive, as it were, of African cinema. And I had every teacher and every student plant a tree in their name as little saplings to my design. And now we have a great indigenous forest. If you walk through Maisha Garden, you would see many names you may know and some that you will know in the years to come. Forrest Whitaker, who won an Oscar for his portrayal of Idi Amin in Last King of Scotland, was the first person to open Maisha and has planted a tree, a big Moafu tree, which is more than 100 feet tall. He's been followed by a young student who came and made her first films here in 2006. She came as the production coordinator of Maisha and then was cast as the actor in several of Maisha's films. And her name is Lupita Nyong'o. The beauty of...
And well, again, this is another ongoing project, Center for Excellence for Pediatric Surgery in Uganda, not far from Maisha Film Lab. And we are co-designers of this project with Renzo Piano Building Workshop. And yes, also in this project, we have tried to balance through design a responsible growth with social and cultural issues through our work. And so we have again, we have tried to identify the specificities, the local traditions, the social issues, in a process that I can say starts unraveling the genius loci of the specific context in which we have worked and we are working. This is a bigger project than the first project I've shown you, the pediatric center in Port Sudan, but okay, the issues are the same. Also here we have tried to work with local resources, and in a way the idea was to transform the soil, to transform the land in the building material. And so we have decided to build the whole hospital, the whole building in Pisé, Ramdurf. The Pisé is an ancient building technique that requires a mixture of excavated earth, sand, gravel, and little water, compacted in formworks. And it is a technique that is used in Africa, in Asia, in all the global south, in a way, as you can see in this map. So I have some photographs of the process of the realization of a building, of excavation, and all the soil coming from the excavation has been selected and sifted and transformed in the constructing materials, the formworks, and the soil work, the removal of the formworks. So the earth of the land, it is transformed and becomes walls, becomes ceilings, and so on. And the drying process as well. So it's a very, how can I say, locally based and simple process of building. I have also another video. This is a bit shorter, and I want to share it with you.
The genesis of this project is that the African countries, together with Emergency, form what they call the African Network of Medical Excellence. So when this was formed, it was envisaged that each of the country would have at least one of the center of excellence built in this country. Just like in Sudan, the Salam Center was built for cardiac surgery. So Uganda was allocated the regional pediatric surgical center. And that is how we started having this project.
The support we are giving to Emergency, and of them, of course, the logistics where we can. But above all, we want to support them because this hospital is Ugandan hospital. It is going to treat our people. It is going to alleviate so much pain. So we would really want to give any support that government is able to provide.
The reaction of the local authorities to the proposal of using rammed earth as a structural material was that of surprise. That is really something that they had never dealt with before. It is something that has no predecessor in Uganda, certainly not on this type of scale, on that type of project. So we had to convince them and to explain to them that this is a technology that is used in many parts of the world.
Well, as you can see, the constructing drawings are really simple. Even if it is a big hospital, it's a 100 beds hospital as well. Again, this idea of finding the right balance between simplicity, cost effective, and the technology. So these big roofs are going to be big photovoltaic roofs in order to provide electricity for all the MEP plants of the wall complex. Well, I'm getting a bit late, so I'm going really fast. This is the last project. It is a project on another scale. It is a master plan in Cameroon. In this case, we were asked to design a master plan for a 10,000 new 10,000 houses settlement. So the questions were how to create economic opportunities in a new town in an emerging country such as Cameroon, how to connect public and private networks, improve different diverse and vibrant community as well, and so on. And we were also asked to design the abacus of all the public buildings, such as schools, bibliotheques, libraries, churches, sport fields, and so on. Will be really fast because I want to focus only on one point. In this case, the starting point was the constructing system that has been imposed to us. It was a really simple and cost-effective constructing system made of precast reinforced concrete beams and pillars and 15 centimeters concrete panels. So this is the starting point. And so the question for us was this: how to combine quality, construction speed, low cost, and dignity in this project, and how to offer a valid alternative to this image I am showing you, in which peripheries and buildings coming from big international companies such as Chinese companies as well are just parachuted in the peripheries, in the new towns of emerging countries in the global south. So it was how about to deal with a locally based project, even working with very simple constructing and cost-effective and prefab constructing systems. So our answer was to work with the basic composition tools, such as starting from a very simple structural grid, and how we can open it with insertion of patios, how we can articulate, build up a sort of articulation of functional models versus block composition, how we can insert light elements such as porches and brise-soleils in order to build up a richness in figurative and formal richness in the project, how a project can, the single project can answer to the necessity to adapt to adaptation to the land morphology, and how we can set up an abacus of solutions that can give us many different answers to the functional requirements that were coming to us. And so I'm going to show you just some examples So from the same the same simple system, how we have tried to build richness, diversity with the single projects. For the public offices, for the sport facilities, for the schools, the primary schools, the secondary schools, churches and mosques, and so on. So concluding, I want to say that architecture in our idea is about people and places. And so we consider that design should conceive inclusive spaces where multiple identities may always meet, interact, and enhance equally. Because architect, in a way, is a pretext. Important is human being. Important is life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
If anyone has questions, they can mute themselves.
Sorry. Do you want to go first, Roger? I wanted to ask, how do you go about looking for these projects? Do you seek the projects that interest you and suit the agenda of trying to make things better, or do these associations look for you for help and inspiration on the projects?
Well, I say it is a result of a very long process, and because the starting point is that an architect, a designer, does not choose the clients, because or the clients chooses sort of the designers, the architects. But what we can do is how to collocate ourselves in order to be chosen. And so, in our point of view, from the very beginning of our career, since the foundation of the office, we wanted, and we still want to be, sort of a creative agency that could offer services for pro bono associations, for all those associations that are directly connected with social issues, that deal with daily deal with social issues. So we've started to work with very small associations, with very small realities, and then year by year we have improved our skills, and yes, we have been lucky when we have met in 2005 emergency, because from 2005 they have asked us to collaborate with them with the project of a cardiac surgery center, and it was their first project in Africa, and was also the first healthcare project for us. And so, you also have to be lucky in a way, but you how can I say, you have to push the situations in order to be lucky.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi.
Sorry.
No, it's okay, you go.
Jubilee, go in.
Okay. Thanks, Roger. Thanks so much, Simone, for this lecture. It's been really inspiring. It's so amazing to see all these projects. I just had a question about when you said that some of your projects aim to improve culture. And I know like a lot of these countries would already have like quite a rich culture in themselves. So I was just wondering what you meant by that phrase, that the buildings would improve the culture.
Oh, well, first of all, I can say that they have improved our culture, you know. So I'm not really sure I've understood your question, but how can I answer? I think we always try to be really modest in our approach. That means that we always, when we start a project, we always start with a white sheet, and we always try to set up a dialogue with the clients. That means that sometimes it's not really easy to find the client, because when you work on a public building, in a way, you have to find an intangible client. That means that you have to find the correct strategies in order to set up a real participatory process. And so it is really important to start with the local stakeholders, with people that can help you in order to be connected with the physical space and with the social place, and then only after, as I said at the beginning of my lecture, only when we are really convinced that the correct questions have been emerged, are emerging, are raising, we start to work on design. Design is always a consequence. It's not about imposing a form. And so it is always a process of learning. And then, okay, it is also connecting our technical knowledge and how to relearn day by day our job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Simone, could I expose my person to you, please?
Yes, please. We are already Facebook friends, so this is the first.
We are. I mean, Simone, I've been becoming increasingly despairing of the position of architecture, that it appears only, certainly within Northern Europe, to be available to people who are really wealthy. My father was a local authority architect for 25 years, and he did that job because he believed that architecture could provide a greater individual and collective betterment. And I have to say, Simone, you have re-inspired me tonight in that belief, that architecture must never again be the domain of only people that are wealthy, that it should be available to all people, and it should be capable of providing that individual and collective betterment. And I have to say, you've lifted my spirits tonight seriously, in so many dimensions, that there are people like you who are working across the world in such inventive manners, and you're still managing to earn a living. And I think you're producing a new paradigm for architecture in a way that's really, really special. And my sense is, on behalf of the school, you're such a valuable addition to our armory that we can start to talk about architecture in a really different way, in a way that's equitable and uplifting. So on a personal level, thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, you know, I don't consider, I've never considered architecture as a self-referential act. Architecture is a social art, but it is also a political act.
Sure.
Always. So I think that our responsibility as professionals and as intellectuals is to act with necessary fair and inclusive change at the service of places and communities. It is our responsibility, because when you build something, it stays there forever. And so you are changing a place or forever, for a long time. And so it is a great responsibility. So how can we change the place in which we live, the physical places and the social places? So we have to act with this sense of responsibility. And this is also, I think, the amazing part of our work. And but sometimes you have to I can say, you have to choose on which part you want to stay on. So if you want to stay on the side of a powerful, of a warder, or if you want to stay on the wrong side. In my personal point of view, you have to really be aware of what you do and why you do your job as a designer, as an architect.
Sorry, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, please.
So I'm of a similar ideology to you. I personally have chosen to study architecture for the innate ability it has to impact people's lives. And I think I myself, as well as I hope many other students, have quite big goals and aspirations to do big projects like these that affect large communities. How, I'm assuming this was always your ideology from the start, but how did you go about building up to these projects? Because I assume you must have started on a smaller scale.
Well, you know, I think, well, you have to be, you have to be idealistic in your approach, but you have to be really pragmatic at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, an architect is not an artist. We are professionals, so we have to give tangible and pragmatic answers to tangible and real needs. And so it is about balancing an idealistic approach, sometimes also an utopian approach to architecture, but just to drive all this force in order to really deal with real conditions of the places and the real conditions of people. And well, sometimes, as I was trying to explain to Andrew before, sometimes you also have to invent projects where the projects are not there. The first project I've shown you, the community house in Senegal, we were asked, this small Senegalese association, Senegalese people living here in Venice, they contact us. They said, okay, we would like to do something for our country, but we don't have financial possibilities to build up, I don't know, a community house or a clinic or so on. Okay, let's try to start the process. Let's try to connect our ideas, your ideas, and then let's try to find somebody who can support us. So it's also about driving the process and to find the opportunities, also where the opportunities are not really there, but you have also to invent the process in a way.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had one more question. I'm really sorry. As Roger said, architecture has become more for the wealthy, but with your presentation, you have done very big projects with very small budgets. What would you say is usually the biggest contributor to cost in these bigger projects? Like I said, one of the solutions, like making the bricks themselves instead of buying them in, you teach the community to make their own construction materials. But obviously that's only one side of it. What would you say is usually the biggest factor that budgets usually suffer from? And what would be your solution to solving, or start a conversation to solving this?
Well, you've talked about, in a way, you're talking about budgets, about possibility to give a high quality standard with your work, also dealing with very small budgets. And I consider the budget as an opportunity, because it means that you can really deal with the challenge of simplicity. And so our strategy in face the challenges of simplicity. How can I explain it? Well, sustainability is conceived in Western world, normally in terms of high performance solution with resulting high building cost. And well, we prefer to say that sustainability is not necessarily in contradiction with simplicity and then the cost effective. So in our point of view, sustainability essentially stands for simplicity. So it means how you can just deal with what you really need in a project, and so that is your starting point, and from there you can move and push forward your ideas. So I've shown you many projects in south of world, also something in Middle East. So in places where complicated or extreme conditions in which we have worked, have carried out the force to consider simplicity as a strategy for any decision, without losing the perspective of high qualified architectural standards.
Thank you very much for explaining that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, Simone. I think we're going to end the lecture here. But yeah, it's really been so great. Thank you for all